So moving on to Dave, and it's always good to hear folks from outside Scotland saying how much they love Scotland. It's always good as a Glaswegian for them to saying how much they love Glasgow. In particular, what Dave likes is the heckling he gets from Glasgow, right? So there's an invite for you, right? Whether from the floor or through Twitter, feel free to heckle David away as much as you like. Dave tells me he's really excited about coming here to Glasgow. I'm really excited to hear Dave's views on the future of technology. But in particular, I'm interested in Dave's views on actually how we humans are maybe stopping how we actually engage with technology to its full potential. So I was going to introduce Dave as the man from Microsoft who tells you that technology is not the answer. However, I do feel obliged to use a phrase that Dave shared with me the other day, and this is how I'll introduce Dave. So I am often told by my colleagues that I'm a bullshitter. Please meet a professional.
Thank you so much, Mark.
You're welcome.
That's a real pleasure. I want you to know, Mark, that I had a choice where I could be today. I've brought my family here because I'm a firm believer in giving my family a rich cultural experience. I could have been in Montreal today, but I thought, no, I want a rich cultural international experience for my family, so I chose Glasgow. There we go. See there, see? Right, so with that, I better quickly explain. I have a comedy job title, right? So I am Microsoft UK's Chief Envisioning Officer. Check me out, right? The job title is important because understand that I made it up. So I am the guy at Microsoft who likes to look out to the future to see what people are going to do with technology. So I work for a company who loves technology, loves to talk to you about technology and our products. But what we don't do is talk enough about the human beings that use them. So my job is about the future, and it's about human beings. My job is about the future of humanity. And I kind of figured if I'm going to have a job that's about the future of humanity, I deserve, nay, I demand a job title with a certain degree of pomposity to support it. I think you'll agree I've achieved that. I told my mum when I was a kid, I said, Mum, one day I'm going to be CEO at Microsoft. You just watch me. Some of you may be aware there has recently been an opening. This is still the only way I'm going to get to pull that off. The final bit of history about me is, I know you will find this really, really hard to believe, right? I have dedicated my entire career to the technology industry, dedicated 20-odd years to digital. I have chosen to work for one of the world's largest technology companies. I have gone to the extremes of personal grooming to grow a beard and a ponytail. And I also quite like Star Trek. What a surprise! This is my 8th birthday party. It's my mum and my Auntie Mabel. Star Trek's really important, right? When you're a young, naive, gullible kid like what I was, Star Trek teaches you this important thing about technology, that technology is supposed to be a force for good. It's supposed to be the thing that enables human beings to achieve more than they could do on their own. That is why I decided upon a career in digital and a career in technology. My problem is, 20-odd years in, I look around me and I do not see this great release. I do not see this great empowerment, but instead I see a prison. Technology shapes how we think. It shapes how we work. It controls what we do. We have become slaves to technology. That's not a future I wanted. And my job today is to wake you up to some of the coping mechanisms that we've all inherited about how we deal with what I call the digital deluge. But actually, to wake us up in terms of what we can do to achieve more with technology. 2 years ago, I wrote a book called Business Reimagined, and this was a story about how the way we work isn't working and what we need to do to fix that. I have recently, we launched it last week, written a real proper book on paper and everything. You can also read this on a Barnes & Noble Nook if you so desire. Memories of 2 years ago come flashing back. This, unlike other electronic devices, has an infinite battery life. Will never let you down. It's not too good in the dark, but anyway. I'm a cheap date, right? So you can get these books for free online, or you can see me, I can give you a download code. I've got a few copies to give away as well. But this is a story that I want to tell you. It's called The Rise of the Humans. And it's all about this thing, the digital deluge. Put your hand up if you don't get enough email. Right? I don't even have to create a punchline for that joke. Everybody understands that. So we live our lives, email constantly, streaming off. Twitter's, the fire hose is going, we're surfing the web. We spend all of our time in a world of too much information. So much so that it starts to become oppressive. But the digital deluge is not just about having too much information. It's also the problem that's created by these wonderful, beautiful devices that we carry with us all of the time. The fact that these things are so lovely and we have mobile broadband around with us means that we fill in every nook and cranny of available time with access to information. And this combination, this is the lethal combination when it comes to changing how we think and changing what we do with technology. Because what happens is we become increasingly frustrated. Most people I know are more frustrated, more stressed out at work than they have been for a long, long time. And yet, we're walking around with more power in our pockets than used to be in our desks 5 years ago. We're supposed to be released. We're supposed to be freed by what the technology can do for us, but instead it has constrained us. And at this point, I'd like to play to the audience because I'd like to blame a fellow countryman of yours, Alexander Graham Bell. What a bastard, right? He started it. Back in 1876, he invents this wonderful solution that takes this human experience, the ability to talk to people, and he makes it such that people can talk to each other anywhere in the world. What a wonderful solution, because he took us out of a world where it was machine-to-machine communication. In the days of telex and telegraphs, we used to have a human operator who would transcribe something to the machine would talk to another machine, and it was really mechanical. Alexander Graham Bell comes along, he invents the telephone, and now we move to a human-to-human conversation. Isn't that wonderful? And we didn't stop there. We go further. We now live in this incredible space where I can stand pretty much on any street corner, and on my mobile phone, I can phone anywhere in the world. Globally, we have become connected. Technology enables us to connect people who are geographically separated. But interestingly, it disconnects us from people who are in the same room. And this is part of the challenge, because the more technology we use, the more it disconnects the environment around us. So we've seen this kind of scene. We've seen this happen at work. How many of you work in an open plan office? How many of you work in an open plan office and email the person you're sat next to? What time are we going for lunch? I don't know. Where are we going to go? I don't know. They're bloody there. Just talk to them. How many of you have this situation at home if you have kids? Yeah, right, exactly. So we're there. This is family time in the Coplin household. We'll sit down. Hey, let's sit down at the table for once. Not in front of the TV. Let's sit down. I'll sit down. My son sits down. My wife sits down. I get out my Barnes & Noble Nook. My son gets out his nameless tablet device. My wife, and we live in our own little digital worlds, right? This is just insane. But it actually goes wherever we go. How many times have you been to a concert or some big public event only to have hundreds of people watching it like this? It's insane. I went up to somebody the other day. I said, what are you doing? You're kind of at the event. He's like, it's all right. I've got a high-definition camera. I'm like, yeah, it's funny. So have I. It's called my eyes. You know. And so this technology, for all of its greatness, is disconnecting us from what we do. But the most scary thing of all is how it's changing the way that we think. Not in a desperately bad way, but in a way that we're not really aware of. Because what's happening is, because we have access to all this information, because we have access to all these devices, we're just repeating the same kind of process. We would like to snack. We go have these coping mechanisms where we skim across the surface of information. We never dive deep, because it's really easy for us to reach out for the next tweet, to look for the next email, to click on the next link, rather than to take time to think about what we're going to do about the last email. We tend to snack on information all the time, so we just acquire more and more because there's more out there. We don't have to consume it. We don't have to digest it. We just grab it. Let's get some more information. Yeah, get that other data file. Yeah, that would be good. So we never think about it. And then we also get this place where we get the filters to do the work for us, the search engines. Well, the problem in a world of filters is you only ever get showed the things that we think you like. The filters always try and anticipate what you're going to do. In a world of filters, there is no serendipity. There is no true discovery. But the most scary of all is the lie of multitasking. And it's a lie we've been telling each other for years. The thing we forget about multitasking is we think today this is a natural part of everyday life. The pace of modern day life requires that we multitask. I am a modern human, and even as a male of the species, I think I can multitask. But then you've got to remember that multitasking is an entirely digital concept. It's a computer concept. It's a concept that was invented in the mid-60s by a bunch of computer scientists in white lab coats who were looking for a way to get central processing units to be more efficient. We've adopted it as humans, and the thing is, we suck at multitasking, female or male, we suck at it. When you multitask, you are on average 33% less efficient than when you focus on one task. But it gets worse, because every time you distract or disrupt yourself, it takes an additional period of time before you get back to what you're doing. We ran a bunch of experiments on our own people, because we're like that. And what we found is our software coders would be writing code and they'd get distracted. And what would happen is they wouldn't finish the distraction and go straight back to where they were. They would meander their way back, because coding is a pretty mental, cognitive task. And so before you go into that, you think, well, I'll just have a quick look at my email. I'll just have a quick look at social media. I'll just see what the footy scores are like. The average time from the completion of the distraction to returning to work is 23 minutes. So not only are you a third less efficient, every time you're distracted, you've got this big window of time that will be wasted while you meander back. These are all of the problems that we've inherited about how we cope with the digital deluge. And the stupid thing for me, right, in all of this, is we talk about data, we talk about the value of information and the things that it enables in our society, and then we complain that we've got too much of it. Right? Oh no, I've got too much of the stuff that's going to transform my business. Oh no, I've got too much of the stuff that's going to make me a smarter, better person. How stupid is that? So we've got to start turning that around. We've got to reclaim what the digital deluge actually means to us. We've got to harness what it can do. And I want to talk to you about that in a few areas. So number one is about how we can now think about our customers. Because of the digital deluge, because of all of the information, we can no longer just have to focus on our consumers and customers in a single dimension of the transaction that they're about to enact with us when they walk in the shop or when they call us up or they go to our website. We can start seeing them as holistic, whole human beings. We can look at the data that they've given us. We can look at their social interaction. We can look at what they're doing, and we can provide a much more holistic approach to them as customers, delivering very transformational customer experience. For our workers, the people who are inside our organization, we only have to look at the incredible transformation that social media has placed in the way that we collaborate as a society to start to look at the power that that can bring inside our organizations. The whole concept of enterprise social fundamentally changes the culture of collaboration to one that is open to sharing, creates agile organizations. We also need to start talking about data in a much different way. We talk about data today, and we even use the cliche of big data, but we still then talk about business insight and business analysis. Data is going to transform your business, absolutely transform your business. And you need to be looking at 3 different uses for data inside your organizations. Number one, you need to wake up to the value that is already there in your data, that lays hidden in your data. And this isn't the stuff that you can use to have better insight about your processes. This is stuff that you could probably sell. The stuff that you have that may have monetary value for other organizations. Start thinking, start uncovering that, start looking for that data inside your organization. The second area is what happens when you take that data and you add it to another data set, something seemingly disparate, something random. For insurance companies, for example, they know that if you're the sort of person that buys those little felt covers for your furniture, you're many more times likely to make your payments. Right? Disparate data sets delivering value to individuals. The third area of data is that you should be looking, when you start to collect data, what are the multiple uses you can put that data for? What is it that you can get from that? So, for example, if you're going to put CCTV into your retail stores, yes, it will be brilliant at spotting shoplifters. It's also going to be great at understanding the foot flow through your store, so multiple data uses. If you start seeing the world in eyes of data like that, then you'll start to open yourself up to a world of new opportunities. But data itself is just the preamble to the big deal. And the big deal is our new relationship with technology. And it's this thing called machine learning. How many of you have heard of machine learning? So machine learning is the algorithms, the way algorithms are created. This is every day. Every time you use a search engine, every time you use you're using an algorithm. And algorithms are really powerful because they enable you to create incredible services. We don't have a lot of time today, so I'm just going to give you one example. Language translation is a service that we've been trying to do for years as an industry. In the last few years, thanks to machine learning, and in particular something called deep neural networks, we now live in a place where we can do real-time language translation. December 2012, Microsoft, we demonstrated live language translation. So one of my colleagues, the guy who heads up our research program, stood on a stage in China addressing an audience in Cantonese. He was speaking English, and a machine was translating real-time. It doesn't take a genius to figure out in a few years' time we'll be talking on Skype to our friends around the world, and we'll just be simply clicking on which language we'd like them to hear. Based on the power of those kinds of services, hey, listen, we've even developed a translator for Klingon. How cool is that? And I love that we chose Klingon over Glaswegian, but we could do Glaswegian as well. You know, it's all possible. So I'm left with a dilemma, right? I'm there as a parent. I'm looking at my 8-year-old son thinking, do I get him to learn a foreign language? Because my guess is by the time he's out in his world of work, it's a pointless skill. Now, I get that's provocative, and I get that's probably a step too far. But these things change our capability. They will change our workplace. Also, added to that, the rise of the robots, our workforce is going to fundamentally change. But I don't see a dystopian future where the robots take over and the algorithms take over the heavy lifting, because actually for all of their power, they're still quite limited. The way that the algorithms work is a very simple thing. They're based on patterns. And some of you will have recognized this from an email that did the rounds back in 2003. It's a true piece of scientific research that shows that you can actually pretty much jumble up all of the words in the English language and their spelling as long as the first character and the last character remain the same, and you can understand what's being said. Now, this works with you because you all speak English. You have a data set. You have a pattern in your mind, and so you can make sense of this. If I show this to somebody who doesn't speak English, or to a child who's yet to form their language skills, they would not be able to make sense of it. And this is the first flaw of algorithms, right? Because they can only work within the framework that they've been programmed. We can take it to another level. So this is, if you think about IBM's Watson and IBM's Big Blue, so both the best Jeopardy and the best chess player, respectively. These programs, supercomputers, can only use the framework that they've been provided with. So as much as they are the best chess player and the best Jeopardy player, I could beat both of them with one hand tied behind me back at a game of Tiddlywinks or a game of Snap, because they don't have the framework. They need human beings to provide the framework. And then the final piece that will make sure that human beings have a role for some years to come is this lovely thing called Moravec's paradox. Moravec's paradox simply says that what we think is hard is actually easy, and what we think is easy is actually hard. So for example, if I were to ask you what's 47 divided by 13, that's quite a hard sum. You might reach for a calculator. Some of the smarter amongst you may do it, but mentally it's very difficult. How difficult do you think that is for a computer to calculate? Not hard at all. They could do it like that. Now, if I did something different, if I threw a ball into the audience, I guarantee you one of you would be able to catch it. Computers can't do that. Robots can't do that. Those fine motor skills are really, really hard to program. So yes, we can build the world's greatest chess player. It can't move the bloody pieces. It can't set up the board. Human beings will be required for many years to come. The thing that we have to do is we have to figure out how do we sit on top of those things. And we've lost the images for the slides. That's fantastic. I love that when that happens together. So I'm going to rise above the machines. What we need to do is we need to build transformational experiences for our customers. And in order to build transformational experiences, you need two things. You need employees who are empowered to be transformational. So these are individuals who, yes, fulfill their job description, but also think very differently about the services that they provide. And they, in turn, need transformational tools, or tools that enable them to be transformational. Hey, we're back. You need to be thinking about building intelligent organisms, not organizations. The difference is organisms, they evolve, they bend, they weave, they adapt to changes in the environment. They are filled with people who have independent creative thought, all focused on a common goal, helping you get to where you want to be. You've got to find ways of unleashing the people that work for you. Too many organizations see their individuals in terms of a job description, within the domains of a single job description. The reality is, think about all of the wonderful things that you do, that even the bizarre stuff that you do on weekends, right? All of this stuff makes up a rich picture and is value to your organization, if only they can reach out for it. You need to create a data culture inside your organization. So this is individuals who are empowered by technology, who understand one key thing. They know when to look up, when to put the technology down and engage in the real world, but most importantly, they also know when to look down. They know when the technology can help. These are people who have inquisitive minds, who want access to more data, they want access to more insight, and can make the switch between the analog and digital worlds very easily. You have to live in the moment. How many times do you sit in a meeting and either you or one of your colleagues is there in the meeting with a laptop open, taking notes? Also known as doing email, right? Because you're so busy, right? The reality is, don't bloody do that. Don't be in a meeting doing your bloody email. Don't be sitting at one of the best digital conferences in the world looking at your... Well, actually, if you're tweeting about me, yes, you can. But if you're not tweeting about me, then please put the screens away. And good tweets, please. But be in the moment. Be mindful of where you are. Be mindful of what you're doing and really embrace that. I found myself, when I was sort of going through this stuff, the technology is so enticing and so distracting, but it's also detrimental to the experience that you're having. I would be putting my son to bed at night, and there's that little window of time between when he's ready for bed where he goes off to clean his teeth before he's in bed waiting for his story. And while he's cleaning his teeth, I'm kind of redundant. So what would I do? Well, I would start multitasking. I'd get my phone out. I'd start checking my email, right? I am no longer at home at that moment in time. Mentally, I'm at work. And best case, I go back and I start reading his story and I'm just a bit distracted. Worst case, I get one of those absolutely shitty emails from someone that just sends you into a froth of rage. And then he can forget his bloody story, right? Because I'm off to sort this out. And all of this stuff happens, and that's not bad in a way that it happens, but it's bad that it happens without you realizing it. You don't make that conscious choice. When I'm going to check my email, I understand there's a risk that I'm then going to get distracted. We just drift into it. So this concept of being mindful is really, really important. And then creativity underneath all of this is so crucial. All of your businesses depend on creativity, but you will only be able to be creative if you create space. And that's space in two domains. It's mental space and it's a physical space. You cannot and will not be creative in your chaotic, open plan environment. You will be creative if you get somewhere quiet to reflect, somewhere for you to cogitate, to go deep on all of the information that you've seen. And then also from a mental perspective, if you spend all of your time filling every nook and cranny with those little snippets of information, you're not processing any of that. Your brain is not doing any of the heavy lifting. It's not using any of the power that it's come to. So create some mental space. Have some time where you can just put the technology down, go for a walk, think about it, take the dog for a walk, whatever it might be, but create the mental capability for you to go deeper on what you've done. So my future is not this dystopian future of the machines taking over. We don't live this isn't the Terminator, and the internet isn't Skynet, right? The machines are here to help. And my future is about how we stand on the shoulders of these digital giants. And it reminds me when I was a lad, when I did my maths O-levels, and if you don't know what O-levels are, they're kind of like GCSEs, but just harder. When I was doing my maths O-level, it was at a time where our society was debating the role of pocket calculators in school, right? Because they just become affordable. And it's like, should we allow kids to use calculators? So I did my maths O-level with a logbook and a slide rule. Now, let me tell you, I am a better mathematician with a calculator than I am with a tabulated bit of paper and a slidey bit of plastic. Thanks very much. Yes, I need to know the basics, but the technology lifts my capabilities. We are in exactly the same place today with the algorithms, with the robots, with the gift that technology provides to us. And it's up to us, the human beings, to decide how best to use it. So my challenge to all of you is to go back to your offices, go back to your organizations, go back to your homes, but think differently about technology. Make mindful, positive choices about what technology can do for you. Look for areas where you can stand on the shoulders of mechanical giants, and you too can be the humans and rise up against the gift that technology offers. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Thanks, Mark. Thank you. You got time for questions, or you?
Okay. So I know David, it's great to hear Dave and squeeze out his time and all of this, but have we got any immediate questions from the audience here in the room? Is
there any chance to get my Windows application to be on the
Yeah, absolutely. It's most definitely a hardware error.
Right. Any other, just quickly? Again, we can catch up with Dave during the
I'll be around all day.
Yeah. Not what I expected to hear from the man from Microsoft, but brilliant. And have you seen the video that my 14-year-old sent it to me last night? Look Up.
Yes.
Brilliant. If you get a chance to see it, if you haven't seen it, it's a 4-minute video, Look Up. And then a counter to that is the Look Down, is the version of the parody of it as well. Yeah. Really fascinating stuff, which questions what we do in this space.
It is, and the point with that, Mark, is it's not so much about putting the technology away and never picking it back up. It's knowing when technology can help and knowing when it can't. So, don't be in the pub with your mates checking your Facebook. Just be with your bloody mates. Don't be in a meeting checking your email. Be in the bloody meeting. Pretty simple stuff. But then, when you've got to do that really sort of cognitive work, get head down in the computer. Get focused, because the stuff's there to help.
Brilliant. Excellent.
Thanks, Mark. Thank you
very much. Thank you.